Well, welcome everyone. My name's Darcy. I'm part of the commercial crew here at WAU, and today we're going to give you a bit of an insight into the Walkinshaw Andretti United pits and hopefully have a bit of a look around at what's going on. So come on inside. So we've just finished up our last practice session of the day and we're preparing for qualifying. All the drivers, the engineers are currently in the truck. So they're going through a debrief process and looking at what little changes we need to make to the car to get it just sorted so that we can put ourselves into the top 10 shootout tomorrow afternoon. Now, over here at the car, you can see we're making some setup changes. The car's going on the flat patch and this is effectively how we make the car faster. So we make little changes to the setup, the ride height, the roll centers, anti-roll bars, caster, camber, and there's a lot of adjustability there. So you can see at the front right, we've got Kiwi, he's the number 1 mechanic, and then we have a number 2 mechanic who's at the other front corner. We've got our data engineer, Tom, with the sunglasses on his head up the back there, and then Ray, who just walked through the front of the screen there. So everyone has a really important job to play. The mechanics, and as I said, there's 2 in charge of this car. They're effectively in control of putting the car together and making sure that it's all ready to roll for the weekend. So interestingly, the cars only look like this for about 10% of their life. So when they go back to Melbourne and our workshop in Clayton, they get completely stripped apart. All the panels come off and all of the components, critical moving components, they come out of the car. So we're talking about transaxles, engines if they need to be rebuilt, uprights, brakes, and all of our bearings and bits and pieces get completely rebuilt. So we have a service department called sub-assembly, where we basically rebuild all of those components. And a lot of the mechanics that you can see here are the same people that are working on the car in the garage. So inside the car, you can see we've got Kiwi making a few little changes, and one of our engineers just having a nice little look at what's going on under there. The car gets really hot inside, so about 60 degrees, about 15 to 20 degrees hotter than ambient inside the car. So you can see at the moment, we've got some sandbags in the car. In the driver's seat, that's about 1 Chaz Mostert's worth of weight sitting in the car there in the driver's seat. So we'll set the car up and we have corner weights. We make sure that each of the corners of the car weigh about the same, and that helps us with the setup so that we know that it's perfectly balanced when it's time to roll out on track. The big blue cable here is what we call our umbilical, and that plugs in through the window. That's how we download all the data into the car. And you can see Tom is also looking at just some data directly from the car. All of our data that we have got, and there's over 160 data points in the car, from shock spots, different sensors, shift sensors that we can monitor at all times. All of those get live are transferred via live telemetry over to our engineer hub, or our data maha as we call it, over there in the middle. So we're currently getting set up for our Super 2 program. So I said we have 5 cars in our category, or in our team, and a contingent of 7 drivers this weekend. So it's a pretty full-on operation, 50 staff, and we all arrive to Bathurst on either Monday or Tuesday. So it's pretty full-on. And we'll come down the front of the car and have a look underneath. So our Mustang runs a 5.4 litre Coyote V8, producing about 600 horsepower. You can have a look under there. She's pretty flash. And celebrating 50 years of Mobil 1 this year, which is very, very exciting for us. These engines differ to the Camaro engine. The Camaro produces still about 600 horsepower, but it's a pushrod style V8, 5.7 litre, so it's a little bit different. But what's really important to note is that all of these cars, with the exception of the body and the engine that's inside them, all the structure, all the suspension is all identical. So the cars are the same up and down pit lane, and how we make our cars fast, and you can see all the people working at the moment to make the car ready for the session. They're making little changes to our setup to differentiate it, to make the car faster or slower, well, ultimately faster, hopefully. Up the back there, you can see there's a countdown timer. So 55 minutes until qualifying. So everyone's working, you can see, diligently, but it's a calm feeling in the garage. That's really, really important, that everyone maintains that calm approach. We all know what we need to do. We have enough time. We've got that time. Everyone's sort of monitoring it. You can see Kiwi continues to go back to the computer because that's where the engineers have specified what changes we need to make. So we're going back, okay, we're going to make that front change, great, tick it off, and then we'll move on to the next one. So the car's on the flat patch, we're going to make all those changes to set the car up how we want to for the start of that session. And then hopefully in that qualifying session, which is going to be kicking off at 4:15, we'll be ready to go. The guys have a button that they press for a drink bottle that pumps water into their mouth. And then we also have all sorts of different buttons, pit lane speed limiter, headlights so they can flash their lights. They can also change their brake bias from inside the car. So it's important that they know where all the buttons are on their steering wheel. Obviously they'll be going 300 k's an hour down the back of Conrod Straight, so we want to make sure that they know exactly where all their buttons are. And then you can see also we have a couple of little Easter eggs in there so that we know if there's any communications breakdowns. We have communications so for how to say yes to know that we've heard if we have any comms issues. During a pit stop, there's a fair bit that goes on. So we have to do a driver change. Chaz is 6'2". Leroy Holdsworth, who's our co-driver, he's probably about this tall, and so that's probably a bit harsh. Maybe he's about the same height as me. Either way, he has to run a booster seat. So when we do our driver change, in about 30 seconds we can get it all done, but we have to put the booster seat in for Lee, then in he gets. We've got to put up our safety net, which goes into there. We also have to, just watch your back, sorry guys. So yeah, we do safety net. We also have to make sure that their comms are plugged in for their radio, for their helmet fan, that their belts are done up nice and tight, so there's a fair bit involved in that. Also, we've got to get all 4 wheels done, maybe a tear off for the windscreen, which cleans the windscreen up. So we have multiple different tear offs. So this is basically peel this off. Each of these is worth about $1,000, so they're pretty expensive to peel, for a stack that is, and so you peel them off and basically give you a brand new clean windscreen, so really helpful during the race. Yeah, more so bugs, it all builds up, you're smearing stuff, so you just tear up, you get a fresh windscreen. Yeah. So this is like, yeah, rubber, other bits of garbage, so effectively, and there's only 2 on here at the moment, but we'll get a fresh set for the start of the race, and then you'll do a tear off and peel off the whole windscreen. Yeah, so you might do a couple. So at each pit stop, you'll come in and just rip one off. So tear off. We also have a cool box in the passenger seat. So it's not in at the moment because we're about to do qualifying. We want the car to be as light as possible. But ultimately, we sit in the cool box filled with dry ice, and then we pump a coolant. The guys wear what we call a cool suit, which is basically acts like a refrigerator. So you've got a coolant that gets pumped around their body, back through the cool box, basically an esky filled with dry ice. Pump it back through and then through their body again. So 15 to 20 degrees hotter than ambient in the car at any given time. So if it's 30 degrees outside, we might see cabin temps about 55 degrees Celsius. Gets pretty warm. So out there is the pit lane, and there is probably more to lose in the pit lane than gain in a Bathurst 1000. So obviously we're doing 4 tyres. We've got to change the wind. I'll start again. So out there is the pit lane, and pretty full on in the Bathurst 1000. So one of the few races where we're changing the brakes. We're also going to do more often than not 4 tyres. We do a driver change because we've got Chaz and Lee involved as well, and we're going to try and get all that done in about 30 to 40 seconds, so it's pretty full on. But we spend a lot of time practicing that in the workshop. We will actually set our boom up back in the workshop. We roll the car in, we get the drivers involved, practice our driver changes, and practice pretty much every component. So what position is each of the wheels going to go in? If we cross-thread a wheel nut, where does the spare wheel nut sit? So there's a huge amount of process. You can also see on the ground, we have sort of plus minus markings on the tape. So you can see if a driver pulls up early or late, where they need to adjust their position of their gun, because effectively, in an ideal situation, the gun is on the wheel before the car has even stopped. And likewise with the fuel, because the sooner you can get that change done, the faster we're going to be, the less pressure we're under to make it all happen. And so what you can see here is our ovens. We use these to heat the brakes during the 1000. Brakes are one of those things that only work best, I guess, or work best when they're at operating temperature. So we heat them up, heat the brakes as high as the oven will go. This one looks like it's good for about 250, we'll basically do a brake change during a pit stop. So in under 30 seconds, we can get the brake calipers off. We have a dry brake attachment, so effectively you don't need to bleed them. The most important thing though is once the new brakes are on the car, the driver has to pump the pedal before they get to the pit lane or before they get to the first corner, because if they don't pump the pedal, they're going to end up in the wall at turn 2, and it's a mistake that's happened many times before. So yeah, brake change after about 500k, so midway through the race. They won't be up to temperature, so the brakes come in at about 600 degrees Celsius, so the crew have to wear fireproof gloves to get them done, and it's not a particularly pleasant job, but certainly it makes a huge difference to the performance of the car throughout the back end of the race. What we can see here is 4 green slick tyres. Green tyres means they've never been on the track before. So you can see here, this is our tread depth. So these are little gauges, 3.1 millimeters of tread depth. So they're brand new. What we'll likely do in this session is go out and road these tyres. So effectively you're taking off the fresh outside layer. You might do 1 lap on them, come back in, because roaded tyres are faster out of the box. They heat up better compared to a brand new set of green tyres. So these tread depth indicators tell us how old the tyres are or how degraded they are, excuse me. Then we have a process here. We know this is the right front, it's set R5 and it's car 25. Oh, actually, this will be cool. There's the booster seat that I was talking about. The booster seat for Lee Holdsworth, that little black thing. There's a fan up there that basically cools the helmet down.